Welcome to the Risk Wheelhouse, the podcast where we navigate the ever-changing seas of risk management and technology. Join your hosts, Ori Wellington and Sam Jones, as they steer you through the latest trends, insights, and strategies shaping the future of integrated risk management. Ready to chart a course towards success? Hop aboard and let's set sail into today's deep dive.
It seems like every day there's a new headline about some company getting hit with a cyber attack.
Yeah, it's definitely been a rough couple of years in the news cycle.
But the thing that always gets me is, we hear about the attack, but we rarely hear about what happens afterward. Like, what's the real cost of these breaches? And how much deeper does it go than just, some data got stolen?
Right, because those headlines just sort of fade away, and we kind of forget about it.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into a case study that really highlights these hidden costs.
Yeah, definitely a timely one.
It's from a recent Wall Street Journal article, and it's about UnitedHealth, one of the biggest healthcare companies out there.
Most people probably have at least heard of them.
Probably interacted with them in some way. And they experienced a pretty major cyber attack recently.
They did. And I think what makes this case so interesting is that it really challenges some of the common assumptions about cyber attacks. People tend to focus on the immediate aftermath, stolen data, financial losses, that sort of thing. But this story just shows how much more complex and impactful these events can be on a company's operations, their finances, everything.
So paint a picture for us. What exactly happened with UnitedHealth?
So, like we said, they were targeted in a cyber attack, which unfortunately is becoming more and more common these days.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting. Their initial cost estimate, back when the news first broke, they said they expected it to be around $800 million.
Okay, so a significant chunk of change.
Oh, absolutely. And at the time, everybody was like, whoa, that's a lot of money.
Right.
But then, as they started digging deeper, really uncovering the true scope of the damage, that number just ballooned.
Oh, no.
To a jaw-dropping $2.87 billion.
Wow.
And there are some experts who are even saying it could reach as high as $4 billion.
Okay, so we're talking about more than triple the initial estimate. That's massive. What could have possibly caused such a huge miscalculation?
Well, this is where we get into those hidden costs. Because it's a really common problem, actually. You see this time and time again with cyber attacks. Companies tend to focus on the most immediate and visible expenses.
The stuff that's right in front of them.
Exactly. So things like recovering data, legal fees if there are lawsuits, customer notifications if sensitive information was compromised, that sort of thing.
Makes sense.
But what they often fail to anticipate are the costs that kind of emerge in the aftermath.
Okay.
Like having to rebuild their systems from scratch.
Oh, right.
Investing in new security measures.
To prevent the next one.
Exactly. Dealing with potential lawsuits. Navigating regulatory fines, which can be a whole other beast.
Right.
And all of that adds up very quickly.
Yeah, it's not just a one-time expense. It's like this ripple effect that just keeps going.
Right. And we haven't even touched on the long-term consequences, like damage to the company's reputation.
Because that's hard to put a price tag on.
Exactly. And that's often where the real lasting damage is. Because once trust is broken, it can be really hard to earn back. And in the meantime, customers might be hesitant to trust them with their information. Investors get nervous.
Yeah, there's that saying, trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair.
Right.
And I feel like that applies here.
Totally. And this is where the UnitedHealth case takes an even more interesting turn.
Oh.
Because they realized that as big as the financial cost was, and it was massive, it wasn't even the whole story, the breach actually caused chaos in their day-to-day operations. Like, it really threw a wrench in the whole system.
So we're talking about a company that handles healthcare for millions of people, processing, like a ridiculous number of claims every day?
Huge, huge volume, yeah.
So what did this meltdown actually look like for them?
Okay, so imagine this. There are systems for processing claims, basically the nuts and bolts of how healthcare providers get paid, how patients get their medications, all of that.
Yeah.
Completely disrupted. We're not talking about like a minor glitch here. This is the infrastructure of the whole system grinding to a halt.
So this is starting to feel a lot more real than just like some abstract financial loss. What kind of impact did it have on everyday people?
Yeah, and the article does a really good job of highlighting this. So because their systems were down, UnitedHealth had to loan out, get this, $8.9 billion.
Wow.
To healthcare providers just to cover the delays in processing the claims. That's billions of dollars that should have been moving through the system, keeping hospitals afloat, making sure people could actually get the treatments they needed.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, at the time this article was published, they said they'd only recovered about $3.2 billion of that.
So there's still a huge chunk of money just kind of in limbo.
Exactly.
Did they mention any specific examples in the article about how these delays actually impacted patients?
The article focuses mainly on the fallout for UnitedHealth itself, the financial and operational aspects. But you can only imagine the stress and the uncertainty this caused for patients who are just trying to get the health care they need, right?
Yeah.
Waiting for essential treatments, maybe getting hit with unexpected medical bills, not knowing if their insurance was going to cover them.
Right.
Those are the real-world consequences that we don't always think about when we hear about, cybercrime, which can often feel kind of victimless.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the numbers and forget that there are actually people behind them.
Absolutely. And it's a good reminder that cybersecurity isn't just about protecting data. It's about protecting people.
Are you ready to see risk management in action? At Wheelhouse Advisors, we've launched a new YouTube channel dedicated to integrated risk management. You'll find quick explainers, insights from our IRM Navigator research reports, highlights from the Risk Journal, and conversations from the Risk Wheelhouse podcast. We're covering the topics that matter most to executives and risk leaders, from AI governance and cyber insurance to operational resilience and regulatory change. Every video is designed to help you anticipate risks, adapt with confidence, and build resilience in a digital-first world. In our first video, we explain how ISO 42001, the EU AI Act, and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework can work together as a unified playbook for AI risk. Subscribe today at youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv and get the latest insights delivered directly to you. That's youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the risks that matter most.
Exactly. Speaking of things we might not know about, the article mentioned that UnitedHealth still doesn't have a complete picture of the breach. So what does that mean for them moving forward?
Well, it's like trying to rebuild a house after an earthquake without knowing the full extent of the structural damage, without understanding exactly what data was compromised, which systems were affected, who might be impacted. They're constantly playing catch-up.
Always one step behind.
Exactly. Trying to plug holes as they appear instead of getting out of it. And that uncertainty just makes them more vulnerable, not only to further attacks, but also to lawsuits, to more fines from regulators, and of course that long-term reputational damage we talked about.
Right.
It's like a never-ending cycle.
So it sounds like they're in a really tough spot. But, knowing what we know now, is there anything that UnitedHealth or really any company could do to be better prepared for these kinds of threats? Is it even possible to get ahead of this stuff?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? And it's where this whole idea of integrated risk management comes in, or IRM, as it's usually called.
Okay, IRM. So what is that?
So basically, it's about shifting from this reactive approach to cybersecurity, where you're just constantly putting out fires, to a much more proactive one, trying to anticipate the risks and mitigate them before they blow up in your face.
Okay, so less firefighting, more fire prevention. Got it. But how do you actually do that? How does IRM work in the real world?
Well, it starts with recognizing that cybersecurity can't just be siloed off as some IT problem, right? It's a business risk.
Yeah.
And it needs to be treated that way.
Right.
So IRM is really about connecting the dots across the entire organization, breaking down those silos between IT, finance, operations, even marketing, customer service, everyone really. Because everyone has a role to play in managing risk.
So it's about building this culture of security from the ground up.
Exactly. And it starts with a really thorough risk assessment. And I don't just mean a technical one.
Okay, so what does that look like?
You need to identify your most critical assets, the data that's absolutely essential for keeping your business running, the systems that you can't operate without. And then, this is the important part, you have to think like an attacker.
Oh, interesting.
Put yourself in their shoes. What are the weaknesses here? How could someone exploit these systems, and what would the impact be if they did?
So get inside the mind of the enemy.
Exactly. And once you have a clear picture of your vulnerabilities, you can start developing a strategy to address them. And this is where data analysis becomes really crucial, because IRM relies heavily on having the right tools in place.
Tools for what?
Tools that can sift through massive amounts of data, identify patterns, detect any anomalies that might be a sign of an attack, and ideally, even predict potential attacks before they happen.
Okay, now that sounds pretty high tech. What would that look like in practice?
Sure. So let's say you're a company like UnitedHealth dealing with tons of sensitive patient data, right? An IRM approach might involve something called User and Entity Behavior Analytics, or UEB.
Okay, catch your acronym for sure. What is that?
It is a mouthful,
Huh.
but basically it's software that learns the normal behavior patterns of users and systems on the network. And when it detects something out of the ordinary,
Like what?
like a user accessing files they don't normally touch, or data leaving the network at an unusual time, things like that, it flags it as a potential threat.
So it's like having a superpowered security guard who never sleeps and is constantly on the lookout for anything suspicious.
Exactly. And the beauty of this is it allows companies to move away from that reactive, wait-and-see approach to security. Instead of just cleaning up the damage after an attack, they can proactively identify and address vulnerabilities, strengthen their defenses, and be much better prepared for whatever comes their way.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I think the big takeaway here is that cybersecurity is not just some technical issue that we can ignore. It's a business imperative, and it affects all of us. And as we become more and more reliant on digital systems, the cost of inaction is just too high to ignore.
That's a great point. Well said. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us as we explore the often hidden costs of cyber attacks. And until next time, stay curious.
That wraps up another episode of the Risk Wheelhouse. Thank you for spending time with us at Wheelhouse Advisors today. We hope you found the conversation insightful and actionable for your organization's risk strategies. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. If you're looking for more in-depth analysis and thought leadership on risk technology, be sure to visit the Risk Tech Journal at therisktechjournal.com. It's your go-to source for comprehensive articles, expert interviews, and the latest trends shaping the industry. Subscribe today to stay informed. For any inquiries or feedback, please contact us directly at info@wheelhouseadvisors.com, or feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and x.com and share your thoughts or suggestions for future topics. Visit wheelhouseadvisors.com for more information and resources. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, navigate wisely.